Well, there are three, and I'm sure you remember there are three basic theories of that of criminal punishment, theories to justify criminal punishment. Because think about what criminal punishment is. It's a total deprivation of liberty and often property. Um, it is basically the state taking you and putting you, we're talking about prison, obviously. There are also criminal fines, but that would be a total deprivation of property. But they're taking you and putting you in prison. They're depriving you of your liberty. And so there should be a very high bar before the state can do that to anybody, especially in a democracy, in a free country, a democracy. So what justifies even doing that? And there are three theories. There's retributivism, consequentialism, and expressivism. Retributivism says that's what they deserve. They were convicted of a serious crime. They deserve to go to jail for a certain number of years. There's consequentialism. This will bring about great consequences. General deterrence. It will deter other people from committing that crime. Specific deterrence. If and when that person's let out of jail, they'll be deterred from committing that crime. Rehabilitation. Um, Victim closure. There's all sorts of good consequences. There's some costs. We have to feed the prisoners and pay for the jail, and so economic costs. There's they're not in the labor force. They're not paying taxes. So there's those costs. There's a lot of economic, but there's also non-economic costs like suffering, breaking apart families. But the idea is the behind the imprisonment, the costs, the benefits outweigh the costs, right? So, and then the expressivism is kind of a newcomer, but it's been around for decades, which is the idea that punishment is a language, and this is how we can communicate the society's condemnation, and the extent to which we imprison somebody is the extent to which we condemn it. And mere words couldn't do justice, right? Just shaking your finger at somebody and saying shame on you doesn't quite do justice to what they did. You have to actually use another language, and that's punishment. I don't think any particular theory is. I happen to lean toward retributivism, but I've written a paper saying that retributivism and consequentialism work together. Really, retributivism needs consequentialism. I also think expressivism is a perfectly valid and respectable theory as well. Um, that's all justifying punishment. But the criminal justice reform movement is saying, okay, we get it. We're not, there's a few prison abolitionists. They say you get rid of the prisons. The problem with that position, and they have to address this and they know it, is then what do you do with the truly dangerous people? And so there's been various proposals. Generally they say quarantine. That's what been, we just don't, it would be in effect the same thing, but we don't have the same, um, we don't have the same language or the same punitiveness. It's much more about rehabilitation and restorative justice than retributive justice. But the criminal justice reform movement is obviously responding to mass incarceration, where we have locked up far too many people, and it's been quite racist in the proportions, to which we imprison Black people and Latinos, and but we millions of people in jail. We have more people in jail per capita than most other countries. Um, and so think about, not only is that terribly immoral, and such an injustice to a lot of those people who are locked up and their families, but then there's also the huge economic costs as well. So you have it's just a terrible system. It's terrible what we've done. And the movie 13th, which I used to show to my advanced crim class every year, really just spells this out. Just spells it out historically what is going on here. And so we can have justifications of punishment, and philosophy is great. I love philosophy, as you know. But criminal justice reform is very much enough with the philosophy. We there are people's lives at stake. Many people have gone to jail. Many have gone to jail who didn't do the crime, and this is coming out with DNA evidence all the time. We so we have a system that's not at all infallible, and it's putting way too many people in prison and destroying lives. And so the criminal justice reform movement is really just trying to say enough with that. Let's let's try to make it a criminal justice system, not a criminal injustice system.